Welcome to Starborn Saga. Get ready to witness humanity's greatest secrets unfold. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments, and keep up with our latest stories. Maya Rodriguez felt as though someone had struck her skull with a hammer when she woke up. Below her, the metal floor was harsh and frigid. She attempted to move her hands, but they were restrained by energy binds behind her back. When she pulled against them, it burned. She was the first to notice the odor. It was incorrect. The fragrance was off. The harsh metallic flavor of the air was reminiscent of breathing through ancient coins. Maya squeezed her eyes, opened to reveal gray walls adorned with odd symbols that appeared to radio tether own illumination. She was confined to a cage. No, a cell, not a cage. The walls were constructed of a metal she had never seen before, and she could only see smooth surfaces instead of windows or doors, walls and the air's smoldering odor. Maya made an effort to recall what had occurred. She was in charge of a patrol dot close to the boundary worlds. The mining stations had gone silent, and her team was checking on them. Then, ships had arrived in the sky. Large, silent ships that traveled too quickly. Her team had fired at them, but nothing was done by their weaponry. Then she felt agony in her head and a brilliant flash. She was here now. The Shay looked up at the sound of metal grinding on metal. A portion of the wall dropped out of sight and something entered. In order to avoid making a sound, Maya had to bite her tongue. It was tall, possibly 8 feet, with gray skin that resembled damp stone. It had a skull too large for possessed an excessive number of teeth. Its voice sounded like falling rocks when it spoke, down a slope. All the new meat. Maya said nothing. She had received instruction. For this, you listened and watched if you were taken. Prisoner, you discovered tell your captors everything you can. You searched for flaws. Something was pressed against the wall by the beast. She cut off her energy bonds. Her hands fell to her sides, and Maya felt them, though she did not show that. It hurt to feel the blood flood back into her fingertips. Soft creature, get up, go, or we will pull you along. Slowly, Maya stood up. Despite her unsteady legs, she managed to make them work. They had seized her guns and equipment, but she was still dressed in her military outfit. She had lost even her boots. The she was led by the thing into a lengthy hallway and out of the cell. The walls were lined with further cells, and Maya could perceive noises coming from within them, screaming, crying, and other sounds she couldn't place. "What is this place?" she asked inquired. A dot. There was a noise that could have been laughter from the thing. "We acquire fascinating information on this collection ship. Specimens from all across the cosmos. We've never had humans before. Your type is new to us." Maya continued to walk, but her thoughts were racing. Aliens had taken them in real aliens, not theater from novels or movies, but actual living creatures from another location. While passing other creatures in the corridor, they gathered other species, such as zoo animals. Some of the creatures were distinctive, but others wore the same gray uniforms as the one directing her. Maya observed objects that floated rather than walked, objects with an excessive number of arms. Thing appeared to be composed of wire and metal. "How many people do you have?" 12 of your species were seized from the patrol ships, and the most of them are dead," Maya inquired. "The soft ones now don't fare well in the tests." Maya sensed a chilled dot settle in her stomach. Her people and squad were killed in the experiment. Arrived at a larger, high-ceilinged area with other inmates of various kinds, all of whom were staring fearful and broken. Maya could smell the scent of desperation and terror. Dotted there was an elevated platform at the far end of the room, and the largest monster Maya had ever seen. It must have been 12 feet tall sat on it. It was towering, with arms resembling tree trunks, and its skin was scarred and dark crimson. It got to its feet and approached Maya, saying, "So this is one of the humans," in a deep and "My name is Zarek. The games are run by me. You'll keep me entertained," looking up at the beast. Maya had defeated hostile forces and Azarda's creatures, but this thing made her feel insignificant. Nevertheless, she maintained a steady tone of voice. "What games?" Zarok made the same rock grinder chuckle. "Survival and combat games. The audience enjoys watching the many animals in the arena, alongside our hunting beasts before they die. The weak ones scream and fled, and if we win, we win." Zarek Linda's breath smelled like rotting meat, and he lowered his face to Maya's dot. In the arena softening, no one wins. Some endure longer than others, better battles, but everyone ultimately perishes. Maya's heart ached. She had discovered long ago that rage was a tool that, when used properly, could make one strong, but she kept it buried. However, it would kill you if you allowed it to rule you. When does the game begin? You and the other newcomers will be cast into the pit of convergence. Tomorrow, where the animals have not, they will be quite hungry after being fed in 3 days. Zarek turned and walked back to his split form. Maya was dragged toward another doorway by the gray creature, who took hold of her arm. Come, you go to the holding pens now. Try to sleep, gentle creature. You'll need all of your strength to run. Maya took another look around the room as they moved. They believed she was simply another weak thing to throw, so she counted the guards, made a note of the exits, and committed the layout to memory to their monsters. They believed that people were weak and defenseless, but they were going to discover that they were mistaken. Maya had been trained to adapt, to overcome, to never give up, and she had survived situations that most people would have died. One major error on the part of these aliens was that they had captured her alive. Now she was going to cost them dearly. The holding pen was excruciating. Mayo was crammed into a small area with 20. The air was heavy with the stench of filth and fear, and the majority of the creatures were fellow prisoners from other worlds. She assumed they were crying as they gathered in corners, trembling and making noises. Maya located a place close to the rear wall and took a seat. The aliens had instructed her to plan and think. They hadn't told her everything, and she needed to know what she would be put into their arena tomorrow was confronting. In terrible English, a 4-armed, blue-skinned creature crawled toward her. You are the new human. I'm Krell, and I've been here for a long time. I've witnessed Maya gazed at the creature, whose big, fearful eyes was there intelligence there? What can you tell me about it? It was a very horrible area. There were rocks and a large pit in the ground. They put us in there with the hunting creatures, and the majority of them perish within the first few minutes. What kind of beasts are they? Krell's Scorpion, a variety of types, some with poison, some with fangs like knives, and some that the gray ones breed them to be excellent killers, and they hunt in packs. Maya filed this information away. Have any inmates ever made it out alive? Some for a long time. A female human who has been there for several days is the only one still alive, and Maya sensed a glimmer of hope. Given that the human was still alive, survival was conceivable. What is her name? She hides in the deep caverns and goes by Lisa. The monsters have not discovered her. Mayo spent the remainder of the night conversing with various inmates. Learning that the arena was enormous, it was perhaps a mile across, with tunnels and caverns all over it. Water came the aliens occasionally, but not frequently. Dropped food into the pit from underground springs, and the majority of the inmates perished as a result of the beasts, but some went hungry. In the morning, gray-uniformed guards opened the pit. The inmates were forced out using energy guns. Maya accompanied the group, but her thoughts were already thinking like a soldier once more. She discovered that the arena was worse than she had anticipated. A huge pit carved into earth, perhaps 200 feet deep. The walls were impossibly smooth stone to ascend, with a scene of rocky boulders, twisted trees, and shadowy cave entrances. Thousands of extraterrestrial onlookers sat in rows above the pit seats. Despite being of various species, they all shared the same expression and were there to observe. Zarek lifted his arms at the pit's edge and said, "Today, we have 20 new creatures. From over the galaxy, fresh meat for the Arenes, how long they last." Other inmates shouted as the platform Maya was stood on started to drop into the abyss and pleaded, but Maya remained silent, scanning the landscape below for potential benefits. The instant the platform when it struck the bottom, mayhem broke out, and the other inmates fled in all directions, rushing without thinking. Maya did not flee, as she heard snarls and roars emanating from the caves, having seen it from above. She moved swiftly but cautiously toward a group of rocks, close to the pit's center. She arrived at the rocks just as the first beast appeared from a cliff, providing her both cover and a clear view of the area. It resembled a big cat, with 6 legs and scales in place of fur in the cave. It pounced on one of the fleeing inmates, its teeth as long as her fingers. Maya squeezed herself against the rocks and watched as other animals emerged from the area, tearing him apart in a matter of seconds. Caves, although they varied, they all moved like predators, swift, lethal, effective. Half of the inmates were dead in a matter of minutes, and the aliens in the seats above were yelling and screaming sounds of joy. This was entertainment to them. Maya noticed a movement in the shadows close to a cave. It was formed like a human, but it moved slowly and remained hidden. Lisa, the other human survivor, and Maya waited. The creatures had murdered most of the inmates and were busy eating, so she used to wait until the major feeding frenzy was done. The other woman was hidden behind the noise and distraction, so she moved toward the cave where she had spotted Lisa. A heap of bones. Lisa was scrawny and filthy, with ripped and discolored clothing. But Lisa muttered, "You are the new human." And I noticed that her eyes were awake and keen. "You descend. Unlike the others, you did not run." Maya Rodriguez from United is who I am. Earth Military. Lisa Warren. Prior to studying xenobiology, I worked as a scientist. I've been researching the animals in this area. Maya was filled with hope. A researcher who had been examining the animals, perhaps this was just what she needed. "Could you tell me something?" Lisa dragged her farther down the cavern. "The aliens believe they have produced the ideal environment for murder, but they actually not comprehend the equilibrium of ecosystems. These animals are not indigenous. They have been altered, yet there are flaws in the changes. Which weaknesses? The large cat moves quickly. However, they quickly overheat. Despite being poisonous, the snake-like creatures are almost blind. The hunters of packs are intelligent, but if you kill their leader, they become crazy." Maya gave a nod. This was information that she may utilize. "How did you make it this far?" "During the day, I remain hidden. Only at night do I move. I consume food, remnants of their kills. I'm growing weaker, but I drink from the underground springs. I can't go on much longer. You need not. This game will be altered." Lisa gave her a startled look. "Modify the regulations?" How Maya grinned, but it wasn't a pleasant one. It was a predator's smile who had discovered prey. One mistake was made by the aliens. They consider us to be merely another species for their monsters to consume. When we have nothing left to do, they don't realize what humans are capable of. "Lose. What are you saying? We're going to quit running after all. We intend to get out of hiding. We will begin our hunting." Lisa gazed at her. "Go after the animals. That isn't feasible. They're ideal murderers. Nothing is flawless. Everything has flaws. You simply mentioned have a few of them. The remainder will be revealed to us. After that, we'll turn this arena into our hunting area." Maya turned to face the cave's entrance. The animals were settling as she could see down to rest after eating. The extraterrestrial onlookers were departing above them, pleased with the entertainment of the day. They were unaware of the impending change to their show. The victim was Maya Rodriguez, would show them what it meant to undervalue a human person, and they would have to become the predator. During the first week, Maya studied the arena as much as she could. She went through the caverns, with Lisa at night, charting each passageway and tunnel. They observed the animals as they hunted and fed during the day. Maya made notes on everything. During the day, the most hazardous creatures were the felines. Although they were powerful and quick, Lisa was correct that they overheat. They would take a nap in the shade after a long hunt for several hours. They were at risk at that time. The snakes could smell blood, but they were almost blind. From a great distance, they used smell trails to hunt. Maya discovered how cave plant debris and mud to cover up her odor. The most intelligent were the pack hunters. They appeared to be dogs with too many teeth and no hair. Together, they cornered the prey, but Meow observed something significant. The pack would split up to defend their leader when he was in danger. They were concerned. Hunting is less important than hierarchy. Maya made the decision to put her theories to the test on the 7th day. She chose her target with care. An isolated 6-legged feline had been hunting close to the water source. It was not as large as theothors, most likely young. Although risky, it is not impossible. Maya devoted hours to preparation. A sharp metal fragment from an old prisoner's uniform was discovered by her. She used fabric to wrap one end. Components to create a handle. It would have to do, even though it wasn't much of a weapon. She walked into the shade to rest after waiting for the creature to finish drinking. After that, she came downwind, traveling silently and slowly. Her military education came into play. She hunted. Right now. She was 10 feet away when the beast detected her. It hissed, exposing those long teeth as it lifted its head. Maya didn't run. She glared back, refusing to back down. The animal lunged forward. Maya had anticipated this. She side-rolled and stabbed. With her homemade blade, the blade penetrated deeply into the beast's neck, striking a crucial organ. The creature lost its footing and toppled. Maya took action, not pause. She picked up a rock and completed the task. In a matter of seconds, the beast was dead. An hour later, Lisa discovered her butchering the carcass afterwards. May's survival training had taught her how to dress in the field. She was severing thepperts that are useful. "You killed it," Lisa exclaimed, astonished. "You actually killed one of them." "This is just the beginning," Maya answered. She displayed a fragment of the animal's hide. "This skin is resilient. These claws are sharp enough to cut metal, and they will make good armor." Maya spent the next few days transforming the corpse's beast into machinery. She used its hide to make a rough vest. She had excellent fashion sense weaponry. From its teeth and claws, she even managed to create a poison by using its glands that produce acid. Covering for her blades. The remaining inmates heard that one of the creatures had been murdered by the human. A few arrived at her cave, pleading. For safety, Maya examined them closely. The majority of some showed promise, but most were too afraid to be of any use. Krell was present, the blue-skinned being who had spoken to her initially. He was little but intelligent, and he was familiar with the arena. There was moreover, Vex was a large, insect-like creature with keen claws that could scale walls. And there was a rock called Noji. Tremendously strong but slow monster. Maya started to instruct them. She instructed them on how to walk silently, to set traps, in order to collaborate. She demonstrated to them how to take advantage of the arena's surroundings. Above all, they learned not to run from her. "Running makes you prey," she informed them. We are hunters now, not prey." The extraterrestrials in the chairs above started to observe how the arena has changed. The death rate was decreasing. A few inmates were lingering longer than normal, although they believed it to be pure luck. When a bunch of the canine-like hunters surrounded Maya's party close to the source of water, they all snarled and flashed their teeth, 7 of them. The leader of the group was a large man, with wounds. The other inmates wanted to flee across his face, but Maya stopped them. "Remember what I taught you," silently she said. "We stick to the plan," the group said, encircling them. Maya awaited their arrival. Place after that, she signaled. Vex descended behind the pack after scaling the granite wall. Nog, the leader, roared and threw rocks as they charged ahead. Krell and Lisa stood on each side of the pack. Maya immediately went forth head. The pack was perplexed. They had never encountered adversaries who retaliated in a systematic manner. Their basic hunt-and-kill strategy failed. The mayor, Aravedith, leader of the pack first, studying them had taught her that the leader will constantly attempt to defend his position. When the other pack members left their hunt to assist him after she attacked him directly, Maya did just that, desired her team could employ their better strategies because the group was huddled together. Vex fell from the sky, tearing the creature's backs with his claws. Nog was a lethal rock thrower. Krell darted, using his speed. Confounding the pack by going in and out. Maya engaged the leader in one-on-one combat. She was smarter, but she was bigger and stronger. He had to pursue her over difficult terrain, since she took advantage of her surroundings, the ground where he struggled with his packer running abilities. 10 minutes were spent fighting. After it ended, all 7 the animals had died. No one had been lost in Maya's team's victory. The extraterrestrials in the chairs above had vanished, cheering and laughing. Their voices were full with excitement. As they pointed and spoke, Arena Prad does not typically act in this manner in the control room above Theona. Sexandra's uneasiness increased as she observed the display screens. She had been researching people since their psi was concerned about her arrival, and what she observed, unprecedented adaptive behavior, is being displayed by the female human, shine-formed Zarek. She's not merely getting by, she is becoming more dominant, the ecosystem of the arena. Zarek waved away her worries with his enormous hand. Not possible. Our arena cannot be dominated by any prey species. The animals Erisexandra claimed that, although humans are genetically superior to all other natural creatures, they are not natural. They are employing strategies, tools, and collaboration in ways we have never seen before. Our own arena is being used against us by them. Next, we'll unleash more powerful creatures, Zerat snarled. People will discover their... However, Maya was already getting ready for the next stage of her strategy down in the arena. In charge of this place didn't know what they had to deal with. They were going to discover the distinction between predators and prey. The hunt for Maya Rodriguez was over. She is now tasked with hunting. In the middle of the arena, Maya stood by herself, encircled by the remains of animals that were once ideal murderers. Her homemade armor was smeared with blood. Her everything else was dead, and she was alive, but the weapons were broken. There was total silence. For the first time, no hunting noises, predator roars, or prey screams could be heard. Since she had been cast into this pit, nothing except quiet above her. The alien onlookers were running away. The show had ended, but not in Theas they had anticipated. They had arrived to witness human demise. Rather, they had saw their ideal venue become into a cemetery. Maya detected a metallic sound rubbing up against metal. The arena walls were opening emergency doors. Guards' energy weapons in gray uniforms surged in. Larger, heavily armored creatures appeared behind them. She had anticipated that this would end. For the next step of her true plan, Maya had instructed her remaining teammates to use the chemicals in the corpses of the killed animals to manufacture bombs. As she had been battling they had been laying bombs all over the place. Apex predators. Toward Maya. Discovered they were being attacked from behind. After emerging from the tunnels, Lisa and the other survivors struck they guards who launch unexpected assaults. They now possessed firearms that were taken from deceased guards and enhanced using components from deceased animals. The true surprise, however, came from above, from the facility's top floors. Maya had successfully alerted them during one-off public feeding events with a code that would only be known by military personnel. "You should see the other guys," Maya responded, pointing to the nearby dead animals. Who was aware of the location of the ship's engines, the main control room, and the number of guards in the facility. Above all, he had brought weapons that had been taken from the armory. It had never been observed by aliens. They use power and precise attacks to hit important objectives, weapon storage spaces, that were still inside the building, intending to thwart the escape. However, Maya had adopted the creature's way of thinking. She was in charge of the most deadly animals, directly into the barracks for the main guard, waiting for them there. The enormous 12-foot-tall alien with red skin, ringed with war scars. Within his grasp a weapon with metal-cutting capabilities. Years of labor, thousands of flawless beings, everybody is dead. Due to a single, frail individual. The conflict between the whole control room was rocked by Maya and Zarek. The extraterrestrial was more powerful and larger. But Maya was more intelligent and quicker. Fighting thousands of monsters had taught her how to use speed and intelligence. As opposed to force, it was a 20-minute fight. Maya was standing over him, panting heavily, but triumphant, a dot. The mechanisms of communication had been taken over by Jake. "You Maya must view this." The communication was called out by him. Messages from all throughout the Vorthic Empire were reaching Array. Word was getting out about the rebellion at the arena. Revolts by inmates were being reported from other locations. The term, wasproving, to the aliens, that humans were more difficult to kill than they had assumed. Maya turned on the primary broadcasting system. Her screens all across the Vorthic Empire displayed the image. Blood was all over her, and grime, her garments ripped and discolored, but her voice was powerful and clear. "You tossed me into your arena and took me as a prisoner. You believed that people were easy prey for your monsters, so they would die for your amusement." She brandished one of her weapons, created from the first beast she had slain's claw. "You were mistaken. We are not victims. We are resilient. We are adapters, and we are thespecies that uses every obstacle as a weapon." The transmission was heard on all of the Vorthic Empire's worlds. "You wanted to see what monsters we could create?" she said, referring to other species that had been abducted and forced into slavery. "Now you know when you push humans to our limits, we become," Maya added, "don't break. We turn into something you are powerless to stop or overcome. Your worst enemy is us, Nightmare, and we're on our way to get you." As Maya and her group arrived, the facility's self-destruct mechanism went off the escape pods. As they took off from the planet, the whole arena complex exploded behind them. Wanted to know everything about her stay there, even if they were small in comparison to what she had suffered. How had she escaped the arena? How had she changed the course of events? Had a single person destroyed a whole facility? Maya's response was straightforward. Aliens believed they knew predators, but they had never been able to shatter something that would not break. Encountered a person who had nothing left to lose. The arena rebellion was only the start. News of Maya's triumph spread, expanded over human space and beyond. Maya went back to active service. However, she had changed. Training that if people didn't give up, they could survive anything. The aliens had made a monster, but it was not the monster they had anticipated. They had hoped to see creatures, Jake Martinez, than anything he had previously seen on Earth. Strange noises filled the air, and lights flashed everywhere. Other recruits where Jake had never seen aliens before, but they were already assembled in the big hall. He was now surrounded by images and films, some of them tall and slender, with some resembled walking stones with crystal fragments protruding from their body, while the largest had thick Jake, who was of ordinary height for a human with gray skin and arms like tree trunks, felt quite little in comparison to them. He had dark eyes and brown hair, and although his uniform was brand new and immaculate, colored armor and equipment the other recruits wore. Jake, the creature's brilliant black eyes peered around. Brown and tan feline with a long, slender tail and ears that wear points, whose Jake named Buddy hopped on his shoulder and peered at him as Jake said, "We're here." Several alien recruits were close by, and Buddy's nose twitched as he sniffed the new sensation in the air. Observed Jake and his little friend, and they began speaking in their native tongues, pointing to the human and hispit, despite his inability to understand what they were saying. Jake could tell that they weren't being kind. A tall alien sexful, a man with pale blue skin and 4 arms, approached Jake. Sexful was from the warrior planet Zephyr, and his gleaming armor concealed his arms and chest. His clothing was embellished with ribbons and medals, indicating his family's military background. "What is this?" Sexful inquired in the common galactic tongue, and his tone was, "Are you the human recruit?" Deep and chilly. "Yes," replied Jake. I'm Sexval glanced at Buddy, who was still perched on Jake's shoulder, and said, "And what is that?" "Jake Martinez from Earth. Monster, a pet of some kind." "This is Buddy." Jake introduced himself, "and he's my friend." Other aliens turned to stare as Sexval chuckled harshly. "A pet. Yawa tended military training with a pet. The human believes that this is summer camp." He spoke louder so that everyone could hear. A crystalline being named Quinn Neth approached, and the aliens crowded around to observe what was happening. His body was created off light-glinting, transparent blue crystal. He was from Thoria, a planet renowned for its exceptional military prowess. Strategists, Quinn Neth remarked in a melodic voice, "Fascinating. It is often known that humans are attracted to lower life forms. But bringing such a species to the defense of the cosmos, huge extraterrestrial plowed through the crowd, making cores seem incredibly unfeasible. Vexter has the physique of a living tank, with thick, scarred gray skin, and he had a massive energy weapon on his back and arms larger than Jake's entire body." Tiny human Vexer roared in. "Your little rat will not survive one day here," said the voice like falling pebbles. Jake's face flushed, but he said nothing. Buddy let out a little chirp and moved toward Jake's neck. The little animal seems to sense that the air was tense. An additional extraterrestrial voiced the suggestion that we prepare it for dinner. The audience continued to chuckle at this, although Jake realized it would only make matters worse. He still wanted to protect Buddy and himself. Worse, he had been cautioned that he might not be welcomed by the other recruits. Many species still viewed humans as weak and backward because they were new to the galaxy. Commander, it was then that Valkyrus came into the hall. He was an alien, one of the most revered and ancient animals in the galaxy. His eyes were all black, and his skin was silver. He was dressed simply, outfit adorned with numerous rank badges. "Recruits!" Valkyrus Commander yelled. His tone wasn't noisy, yet everyone instantly stopped talking. For orientation, create ranks. The aliens moved swiftly, into tidy rows. Jake was still holding his friend when he ended up at the back. As he moved along the line, the commander looked at every new hire. He paused when he got to Jake. Commander Valkyrie declared, "You are the human, though." That wasn't inquiry. "Yes, sir," Jake replied. The commander gave Buddy a look. "Additionally, this is my friend, sir. Buddy is his name." For a moment, Commander Valkyrus was silent. "I didn't know people would bring pets to training." "He's not just a pet, sir," Jake said meticulously. "He is more of a companion." Some of this soft laughter came from the extraterrestrial recruits. They instantly halted when Commander Valkyrus held up one hand. "Very all right," said the commander. "You're responsible, even if the creature stays. Should it result in any issues, you will both be kicked out of the program." Jake answered, "Yes, sir, thank you, sir." The next recruit was brought up by Commander Valkyrus. Although Jake was relieved, heckled here the muttering of the aliens surrounding him. The person and his rat were the subject of their jokes. Some referred to them as fable. They wouldn't last a week, according to others. 2 hours were spent on the orientation. Valkyrus, Commander outlined the training plan and the rules. The galaxy's most powerful military force was the Cosmic Defense Corps. Just each species' top recruits were selected. They would spend 6 months training, and only half would graduate. Your battle strategy and weaponry skills will be put to the test, and cooperation. Those who fail will return to their homeworlds in shame, the commander clarified. Jake paid close attention to everything that was said because he knew he would need to put in more effort than anyone else to establish himself. As the other recruits were already more powerful, quicker, and more seasoned, but Jake had something. They were still learning. At the conclusion of the orientation, the recruits were shown to their accommodations. Jake's room was modest and unadorned, featuring a bed, a desk, as well as a storage locker. He made Buddy a little sleeping space in Theckener. Jake heard the aliens conversing in the hallway as he unpacked his little possessions. And they were still some were placing wagers on how long Jake would live, while others were making jokes about the human and his pet. Jake sat on his bed and glanced at Buddy, who was looking around the room, and the small animal appeared content and inquisitive, unconcerned with the opinions of the other recruits. "Don't worry, Buddy," Jake murmured. Quietly, "We'll show." Buddy chirped a little and got onto Jake's lap, showing them what people are capable of. Jake scratched behind Buddy's ears, and the creature joyfully closed his eyes. Jake understood that the actual training would start tomorrow. Be challenging, but he was prepared for the task that lay beyond his door. The alien recruiters carried on their discussions. They had no idea what they were going to discover about people and their friends. Jake grinned to himself while preparing for bed. Everything would be different very soon.